Hello out there. It's week 16 and it's time another edition for the MCC News. I am, of course, your host, five-time MCC champion, Alan Morrow. Now let's get to the news. First topic today, mountain out of a molehill. What does this mean? We had a little bit of controversy this past weekend, quarterfinal weekend here in the MCC. One of our playoff quarterfinalists, Tyra, he was starting Jalen Hurts in his starting lineup. He was late Saturday, early Sunday morning, he got downgraded to questionable with potential illness for his Monday night football game. Now on Saturday morning, or Sunday morning, probably I think around noon, before noon 30, myself, who's out of the playoffs, I went ahead and picked up Marcus Mariota and Drew Lock, both potential starting quarterbacks for the Monday night football game between the Eagles and the Seahawks. In this scenario, Tyra would have to make a decision on if he's going to roll the dice in his playoff matchup and continue to start Jalen Hurts, or he's going to have to pivot to a quarterback that was playing on Sunday. Now, this is all good and competitive fun, and Tyra was not happy about it. He was unhappy mainly about a team that was not in the playoffs potentially affecting the playoff matchups. A lot of us have had a lot to say in the last few days about this, back and forth. Some people don't really necessarily have a problem with it. It's all in the nature. It's about just staying on top of your players, especially when you're in the playoffs. Sometimes you're not looking for somebody out of the playoffs, maybe still paying that close attention to everything. To Tyra's fortune, Jalen Hurts did play, and Tyra won. And also, Tyra actually had the matchup won regardless if Jalen Hurts played or not. So obviously there will be more discussion about this probably at the end of the year party and moving forward on what type of waiver rule modifications there will be come playoff time for playoff teams versus non-playoff teams. Because we are a keeper league, we can't necessarily not tell people to pick up players because a potential keeper could be picked up. So there might be a situation. So everyone gather your thoughts about it. It will be a fun topic of discussion. Good thing it didn't truly affect anything this year on it. Now, with that, we're going to have a new segment. MCC Draft History presented by SVS Vision. SVS Vision, great place to get your eyes checked and get glasses. You can get them in 2 to 3 business days. It takes them, their production center is one of the fastest in the country. Thank you so much. With this, we talked about actually earlier today, about Christian McCaffrey's, the number 1 overall player this year, draft history within the league. Now, he was a rookie back in 2017, so he's been drafted 7 times by our league. Now, his first year, his rookie year, he was drafted 23rd overall, the second to last pick of the second round by Jim. But from then forward, he's been a first-round pick regardless. With the next year, his sophomore season, he was drafted 11th overall by Tyra. Then he moved all the way up to first overall, or second overall the next year, also drafted by Tyra. Then for the past 4 seasons, Christian McCaffrey has been the first pick overall. There is one small asterisk to this one. Last year, Christian McCaffrey was drafted number 1 overall by Lee. Lee did not technically decide to pick Christian McCaffrey. He was thinking about it, but he did flip a coin of Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor, and whatever the coin said, he selected, and the coin actually picked CMC. And actually last year, Jonathan Taylor was actually the number 1 overall player in ADP. So it was actually a bit of a surprise that he took CMC, knowing his injury history, but he was great last year, fantastic this year. Tyra took him this year. Tyra has been able to draft CMC 4 times out of the 7 possible times. So Tyra is basically the league owner of CMC. He has been traded a couple times, but Lee, Gabe, and Jim all has drafted Tyra all has drafted CMC as well to Tyra's 4. So with that, that was this edition of the CMC Draft History presented once again by SVS Vision. Thank you so much, SVS. Next one, the playoff matchup recap. So we had Tyra versus Jim, James versus Schrader. Tyra and James move on. Schrader and Jim play for next season. There was one matchup that was a blowout, another matchup that was super competitive and super high scoring. We'll start with the Tyra beats Jim 157.1 to 89.6. Jim, the Cinderella story, 0-8, 6-8, sneaks into the playoffs, then gets Christian McCaffrey, essentially. Christian McCaffrey, 39.2 points. Not only is that alone is going to be hard to overcome when someone of your guys, one of your opponent's players scored nearly 40 points. But with that, two things to look forward in this matchup was the battle of the Lions running backs and the battle of the Rams wide receivers. Tyra had Cooper Kupp and Jahmyr Gibbs. Jim had David Montgomery and Puka Nacua. Gibbs and Cooper Kupp, Tyra's two guys, were by far the best players. Gibbs had 23.8 points compared to Monty's 9.2. Cooper Kupp had 21.1 to Puka's 7.8. So not only did Jim get Christian McCaffrey, he lost both battles of a team's position players. So it was just kind of Jim, just some bad luck here and there. Jim's highest scoring player scored only 16 points, and it was Zamir White of all players. A waiver pickup started on a Thursday night. It was a great start by Jim. Jim got off to a great start on here, and that was basically it for Jim on the season. Tua, tough matchup against the Jets, only scored less than 14 points. CeeDee Lamb had a very low game, but he still scored 15. He scored a late rushing touchdown in a blowout game. Just never could really cover. So Jim, still a great story. One of the best storylines the MCC has seen in a very long time. Good luck. Congratulations on a great season. Good luck to you in the future. The next, James beats Schrader 160.12 to 134.5. This was super high scoring. Every player was just about going off in these guys' lineups. It was crazy. It looked like James was going to, by Saturday night, was just going to blow out Schrader. Because basically James had the Jared Goff, Sam Laporta stack that combined for 62.22 points. Jared Goff, I think, had 36, while Laporta had 3 touchdowns and 26 points. It was nuts. But all of Schrader's players started to really come through for him. James Cook had 35 points. The thing that kind of lost Schrader this matchup, not only by everybody on James' team going essentially ham, was Drake London and Sam Howell. Drake London only scored 3.4 in an Atlanta game that Atlanta decided not to use any of their high draft pick offensive weapons for the last couple years. And then they lost to a team that only had 1 win on the season. Good job, Arthur Smith and Atlanta. But the biggest one is Sam Howell bottom out at 9.28 points. Any week, let alone the playoffs, it's going to be hard when your starting quarterback only scores just above 9 points in the week. So that was very disappointing. Sam Howell won that. I think he was basically a top 3 quarterback on the season too. Jimmy Brissett came in there and still threw some touchdowns, whatever. So if you could combine the QB scores for both of them, it would have been a lot better for Schrader. Probably wouldn't have been enough to take on James 160 points on that week. Schrader had, out of the 8 of us that was playing, because there was 2 bye weeks or 4 bye weeks, 2 for the playoff teams, 2 for the non-playoff teams. Schrader had the 3rd highest scoring points. He would actually only have lost to Tyra otherwise. So bad luck there by Schrader. Good Schrader, another great season, great storyline there. Just a quick Whedon recap. Myself and Ben Teese, we are safe from the Whedon. We both won our matchup. We'll be playing for the 7th, 8th place spot this week. Bicky versus Gabe and Jeremy versus Doug, the semifinals for the Whedon. I guess good luck to you guys. So that was the playoff matchup recap. Now let's go to the playoff matchup preview. We'll start with the number 2 seed, Will, versus the quarterfinal winner, Tyra. Currently, right now, Tyra is projected to win out of the starting lineups the way they're currently built right now as the taping of this MCC News. Tyra has 120.64 points projected, while Will has 96.95. Now, Will's is a little lower because he still currently has Jahmyr Chase that is listed as questionable. Right now, the system is showing 0 points because he's very unlikely to play. It's tough luck. So most likely, I know Will is looking to get maybe waiting for an update on Josh Jacobs. He is tending in positive directions. We'll see. Currently, if Jacobs would go in the lineup over Chase, Will would have 1.05 points projected. So right now Tyra is still projected to win just over 10 points. Will won the only matchup this week between them, 132.78 to 114.08 in week 12. Right now, Wills is hoping Bijan Robinson bounces back. Hopefully Atlanta uses him this week. And he's hoping Ty Chandler can repeat his performance from last week. We don't know about Alexander Madison if he will play. Ty Chandler still may have share, but he does have a tough matchup in the Detroit Lions this week. For Tyra, everybody's healthy, essentially. Tyra has no injuries. His starting lineup still currently has no Austin Eckler. Not a surprise. He's struggling. No DeAndre Hopkins or Devontae Adams. That's how deep his roster is. Thursday, tonight, is a big matchup. Big for this matchup. Cooper Kupp and Alvin Kamara is going for Tyra. Will has nobody. But Will counters that by having his kicker Dicker and Josh Allen both going on Saturday, while Tyra has nobody. So by Saturday night, we'll see where they are. The big hurdle, and it stings for Will for this, is Monday is going to be a very stressful night or day, Christmas Day for him on this matchup. Tyra has Jalen Hurts, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and the 49ers defense all going on Monday. So that's going to be tough, why Will only has Travis Kelce and Josh Jacobs potentially going on Monday. So there's going to be no time to really relax until essentially after the 49ers game that day, because there's 3 49ers on Tyra that will have a very good idea on who could be the winner of this matchup. Now, the next one, the number 1 overall seed Lee versus James. Currently, Lee is projected for 111.3 points, while James is projected for 100.96. Lee won the only matchup between these guys because Lee went 13-1 and only lost to Tyra. I didn't even bother looking up the score and what week that was. I just know Lee won. Lee is looking at a still questionable attack on Tyreek Hill. He didn't play last week. Hopefully he plays this week in the semifinals. We'll see. There's not really much updates on that one. Still questionable on Pachenko. He's probably not playing again, but we'll see about that. That's 2 big players for Lee as well. And in the injury standpoint for James, no Keenan Allen, no Zach Moss. They both didn't practice yesterday. They're both probably trending not to play this week as well. Some storylines going in. James with that Goff-Laporta stack again. Let's see if they can do it. The Lions are going to try to win the NFC North. So that's big. Obviously, they came really through. The other one was, if Tyreek Hill doesn't go, James has Waddle. That's going to be a big boost for Waddle. But if Tyreek goes, now you have the battle of the Dolphin wide receivers. Tyreek's typically better about every week. And with that, with Lee's 2 players currently in Lee's projected is Stephon Diggs, and that's been struggling as of late, and Dak Prescott that struggled on the road, and he's on the road again against Miami. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. The Thursday matchup here, James has Kyron Williams, while Lee has nobody. So it's going to be see if James gets off to an early big start. Kyron's been awesome this year. Saturday, Lee has Diggs, while James has nobody. So Stephon Diggs against a Miami defense, that can be potential. He may have Tyreek Hill. And with that, James does have Waddle as well. Monday night, James has the Ravens D and Jacoby Myers, while Lee only has Elliott, the kicker for Philadelphia. So it's going to be, if it's close on Monday, it's still going to be a very tossed-up. Lee does have a bunch of Monday night players on his bench: Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, Isaiah Likely. So if he does make any changes, there's a chance that he could have more Monday players. So it's going to be a tough matchup. Right now it's looking like Lee and Tyra could be headed towards a finals there, and Lee trying to get a rematch against Tyra by being the only person that beat him in the season. So let's see how that goes. Next, Tyra's Fab Thoughts. Really, there's no Fab Thoughts this week. No waiver pickups by any teams in the playoffs. There's only 2. I picked up the 2 Indiana running backs, but it looks like Jonathan Taylor may be playing, so they're both irrelevant. I think Jeremy picked up a defense. So the waivers are very silent there. That brings us to the end, to the MCC News. I just want to start off and wish everybody a Merry Christmas ahead. Everybody a good semifinals. And as always, let's go Lions, fuck the Vikings.